Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Monday morning. And what I've decided to do is to rebrand these UBS Lives to just call them simply now Live with Nat, keeping it more personal as those of you that watch it do know me, have met me somewhere, and some of you don't. But I thought it would be more apt because UBS Live is linked to my big Facebook group, Ultimate Business Support. However, I'm hanging out more on my personal profile, and some people are not part of that group, so therefore I'm going to call it Live with Nat now from Monday. So as we normally do each and every Monday at 9 a.m. Melbourne time, we come together for some small business insights, tips, tricks, and strategies, and today is no different. So before I get stuck into it, we've got about 35 minutes to talk, and what I've got to deliver today is quite exciting as I near the milestone of 8 years in business. So that's happening in about, what's today? The 6th, 7th, I think it's in about exactly 2 weeks time, 2.5 weeks on my birthday this month, because that's when I deemed the start of the business was on the 24th of May, 8 years ago, as I walked out as a fresh new coach out of my training school, and went about, trying to grow a small business. So let me just share this particular live in a couple of groups that I mentioned just before, the UBS and Author Your Way to Riches, and then we're going to get started into the content. All right, so we're just going to do one group. All right, we do this at the start, and I usually come on a few minutes early so I can make sure I achieve this little thing, and then we'll get going. And good morning, Christian. Look forward to having a chat to you after the call as well. And you'll know when I finish if you stay on this call, because we'll have ended and then we can jump on the call, because I've got a busy Monday. Today we are flying out to Sydney. It's our last lot of 2 half-day events in Sydney and Newcastle tomorrow and the day after, and that's it, our half-year milestone of, I think we've done over 20, maybe even 25 half-day workshops from January through to now. I have to go and actually have a look, and now we're entering more into the quieter phase of about 2.5 months. We do have retreat coming up next weekend, which is our 21st Ultimate 48-Hour Author Retreat. Very exciting. I can't believe I've done 21 retreats. It's crazy. Good morning, Francis. Nice to see you on the call as well. All right, guys. So what I wanted to cover off, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I thought it would be valuable to just have a look for myself and for you guys, the journey that has been over the last 8 years. So you guys, some of you who know me, and have been around this community for a long time, and some of you have known me from the very beginning. But often people can see the outcome of what has happened after. Hey, Rita, nice to see you as well. Can see the outcome of what has happened, as a result of many years prior of working, trialing, testing, and measuring, making a lot of mistakes and having lots of failures and a lot of rejection, and therefore they see just this final outcome of what things are. And I wanted to rewind the clock back on the 8 years. So what I did this morning is I got my little piece of paper out as I prepare, and what I'm going to do is from year 1 to year 8, we're going to go, and I'm going to talk about my lessons in each of the years. And also what I tend to do every year is set one massive goal. And a lot of the time of late, as I've refined and learned that this works really well, I set a theme. So one massive goal for the year and one theme that I'm just going to focus on executing as a major achievement. Sometimes people can have way too many goals and get overwhelmed by them, but I tend to focus on one thing, and that becomes my theme, and therefore I just make that happen, because all of my other smaller goals eventuate because of that particular theme. So let's rewind the clock back to May 2010, and as I said, I started out on my birthday, 24th of May, which is coming up, and that'll be the official anniversary. But in year one, what were my lessons? Well, my major lessons were really mindset and focus. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, mindset was because I was very vulnerable because of the loss of our business at the time, which Stuart had made a poor decision and he had lost it. And I went into coaching, obviously, to help myself first before I could help others, which is, of course, in hindsight, what I learned. And so mindset and focus. So mindset number one, I had to get over myself. I had to work out what my limiting beliefs were. I had to figure out, you know, what was, you know, standing in my way to be able to, you know, be paid and be hired as a coach. Of course, that first year was a ton of investments into how to grow a business. Marketing masterclasses with Kerwin Ray, you know, obviously my coaching school, my mentor that I hired, who was my mentor for 2.5 years, other investments. There was about $40,000 worth of investments of everything that was on a payment plan, as I always say. And thankfully that those things exist, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it at all. My goal in that first year was to quit my day job. So that was kind of the theme. I didn't know about themes at the time, which I do nowadays, but what I you know, set as a massive goal is, and I thought, and I declared that by Christmas, by the way, it's May, by Christmas I was going to have a 6-figure business, and by Christmas I had 1 paying client, which was really, really interesting. You know, you kind of, you know what they say, you underestimate what you can do in a longer period of time, and you overestimate what you can do in a shorter period of time, which I certainly, had you told me that in the 4th year I'd be going to a 7-figure business, that would have, I never even started out wanting a 7-figure business. All I wanted to do is cover my day job income. I wanted to work part-time hours and be able to, you know, support my family and have the time to raise my child and, you know, children as time went on. At the time we only had 1 child. So that was year one, number one. Focus was a big one, because what I find new business owners do, and this is what I did, the mistake that I did, is that I started 4 or 5 different ventures, which with the mindset that, hey, if I do 5 of these things, I'm going to probably be able to make, you know, a reasonable amount of money. Or sometimes the mindset could be, if I have 5 businesses, I'll make 5 times the amount of money, which is so incorrect. And so the lack of focus was one of the biggest lessons, because my mentor said, Nat, pick one thing and get known for that. So let's go forward 1 year. In year 2, you know, it was the year, you know, that I finally had the penny drop that I should focus and pick one thing. And by that time I was well, already in year 1, at month 7, I started writing the first book, which was the 7 Ultimate Secrets to Weight Loss. So I really got the thing about, you need to be credible. So what if you're the best coach out there if no one knows you at all? So in year 2, my biggest lesson was to obviously master filling up a one-on-one coaching practice. And that was my, I think if every coach who comes out of coaching school, that's their dream. That's what they would like to do, is a fully booked coaching practice where they're working their part-time hours and they're able to, you know, help and make a difference to the people that they're serving. And so that was my first thing. And often I can see coaches out there that try to skip too many steps. And so, of course, I'm telling my story, but I kind of want you to take away your lessons and learnings. You know, people wanting to go and become famous online straight away, or wanting to skip the one-on-one and just do one too many, because one-on-one sounds really hard and time-consuming and all that sort of stuff. And one thing that I've learned is that, you know, you cannot skip steps. You got to do the right things to collect and establish the right skills to be able to move on to the next step. I could have never gone international before I would go local, you know, in our state, in the country, and therefore international. So year 2 was about mastering the one-on-one and like getting to a fully booked practice, which was the result of writing the first book and certainly having established the network in the previous 12 months. So in the previous 12 months, those of you that have followed me, you know that I attended over 104 events as a participant and was a member of few networking groups, which when the book came out, that together brought in those opportunities to have a fully booked coaching practice. And I did achieve the goal from year 1 to finally quit my day job in month 13. So that was, yes, the start of year 2. I walked in and handed in my resignation and quit the day job. And another big theme, so here's the theme for year 2. The theme for year 2 was to have the opportunity to speak at 5 speaking gigs. Like anything that I was given that was 10 minutes or longer would count as a speaking gig. So speaking gigs could be speaking at a networking event for 10 minutes or longer, you know, obviously being the main speaker, me setting up my own event, obviously getting a group of people, you know, the workshops that I did at like a chiropractic clinic, at a personal training boutique studio, that all worked. So that was the theme for that year, was to do 5 a quarter, because I wanted to, I kind of had this feeling that if you get in front of more people than just one, you'll have a lot more, the ability to reach more people, and therefore I would be able to fill my coaching practice a lot faster and easier, which is what exactly happened. As I said, in year 2 was about mastering 101, getting fully booked. How did I get fully booked? Well, I achieved those 5 speaking gigs a quarter for the 12 months. However, I got to 30. So instead of getting to 20, I actually got to 30. And I used to put these little strokes, 1, 2, 3, 4, cross, 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. And by the end of that second year, I had spoken 30 times in front of people for 10 minutes or longer. What did that do? Well, that got me to a point of confidence within my speaking, that whenever I got up in front of people, I was no longer nervous. I was no longer tongue-tied. I had the language. So the language and externalizing what I was passionate about and what I wanted to teach people became really easy to do, right? So year 2 was very much about, you know, refining my skills. Yes, getting out there one-to-many, but where I monetized the business was getting fully booked as a one-on-one coach, and working like those really long hours at, you know, from 9 to 11 p.m., like around my husband's retail roster, because that's all, it was like all we could do at the time. All right, let's go forward another year, year 3. And year 3 was really about figuring out, now I'm okay as a one-on-one coach, I'm getting the referrals, I'm picking up clients, it's not hard to sign up people to work with me one-on-one. And now it's time to figure out, is there an easier way to do this? So it's like the one-to-many leverage. And so the theme, I'm just looking down because I did jot down because I don't want to mix up the years. The theme for this 3rd year was to earn enough income for both myself and Stuart, so Stuart could have the opportunity to quit his day job. Okay, so 2.5 years in, that year I realized that people were starting to ask me, well, how do you work with these clients and weight loss? You know, if we wanted to do what you do, how would that look like? And I realized that obviously that would mean them franchising or licensing or buying into my intellectual property, which I went through that process on learning how to do it, pulling together manuals, writing my systems. My mentor was very clever at the start of that. At the end of year 2 and start of year 3, he told me that I should just write down everything that I do. What do I do with clients in session 1? How do I sign them up? How do I find them? And what does that all look like as a whole system? So when the time came to franchise, I realized, shit, you know, I can pull all of this together and have a business in a box. And towards a year 2.5, obviously this is within the 3rd year, I launched the Ultimate Weight Loss Licensing, and this is what got Stuart to quit his day job literally at Christmas. So this is 2.5 years in, part of year 3, you know, got Stuart to quit his day job, and that was something that we were really, really focused on for the following 12 months. We ended up signing up 33 licensees in Australia, 1 in the US, and also we ended up licensing our product development niche which was a secondary niche, the weight loss one, and we sold another 8 or 9 of those. And we thought, my goodness, this is like what we're going to do forever. You know, we'll go global with this and all that sort of stuff. But of course, as any business still in, I would say, it was infancy stages and learning and growth. And by the way, still by this time, 2.5 years in, and this is year 3, we are still investing heavily in mentors, in courses, in, you know, things to continue learning, you know, how to better market our business and how to get that continuous stream of leads, prospects, and then obviously clients. So Stuart did quit his day job prematurely. He was given a ultimatum at work, and he was going to be moved to a location a whole hour further away from where we are, where we lived, which meant 2 extra hours of travel a day, and he was already out of the house for more than 10 hours. So we basically didn't know if he should quit, but it was Christmas Day. It was a really tough time. He was working for barbecues galore. It gets super busy at that time. And I said, look, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't want it to be even more because I'm trying to run the business around his retail roster. And now I'm going to have him out of the house for an extra 2 hours. Doesn't leave very much time in the day to be able to serve the clients I was serving. So we decided, yep, quit, and we'll see how we go on our own. And he did. The following 6 weeks, we generated 2 years of sales worth of his salary. You know what they say? You say yes, then you work out the how, because we didn't know. We didn't know if we had enough income to cover both of us and our living expenses, but we took the leap of faith, and often we don't have the benefit of hindsight. Therefore, you know, we just kind of did it, and we said, look, worst case, what's going to happen? You go look for another job and get another job. So since then, now 5.5 years on from then, of course, we've been fending for ourselves, and things did work out. It was a really tough journey. I guess other lessons from year 3 were to realize that Stuart had not been a business owner for the first 2.5 years when I was going through the ropes, learning my own mindset, getting out of my own way. So he had his own journey and path to walk, which was obviously to move from the employee mindset to a business owner mindset, and what all of that looked like, and you know, how he fits into the whole picture of the business and all that kind of stuff. So it was actually challenging, because I thought I'd have you know, like double the hands on deck, therefore we'd be doubly successful, but it just wasn't to be the case, because he needed to grow in his own time and almost play catch up to me, which, yeah, took a couple of years. So year 3, Stuart quit the day job. We had thankfully generated enough income in those first 2 months when we did it prematurely to you know, sustain our bills and all that kind of stuff, and we did leverage one-to-many. Something wasn't right as we enter year 4. Something wasn't feeling like, you know, I wasn't feeling fulfilled by selling the licensing, because a lot of the licensees, basically the thing that I learned from licensing is that I didn't price myself high enough. And by not pricing myself high enough, you know, people were not taking it as seriously. I mean, can you imagine someone who buys into a franchise to spend 6-7 figures to invest in it? Their whole livelihood is on the line. They're going to work their butts off to make it work. Whereas people who were investing in something that was $3,000 to $5,000 at the time, they tried for a few months, and if it wasn't, you know, if it wasn't something that they were, that they wanted to persist at, it was very easy to sort of just let it, slide and make peace with that investment. And that's what started happening. There's a common statistic that gets shared that only 3% of people ever follow through when they invest in a high-end program, intellectual property, that kind of stuff. And that 3% was exactly what I started to see and experience within my licensees, which meant that need for contribution that we like to feel that we're helping others, and then they're helping others and all that sort of stuff, which is part of, the happiness trifecta, as I call it. To be truly happy, we need income, we need lifestyle, and we need to feel like we're contributing. So this is where I kind of started to feel like, okay, this is not sitting, and I stopped being marketing and stopped being promoting it. Even when people would call me really interested, I'd say, look, if you're not going to do the work, there's no point in you signing up for this and all this sort of stuff. So I continued business coaching and mentoring health and wellness and coaches one-on-one. Like I was doing the licensing, I had the one-on-many thing, but then I continued business coaching and mentoring until, of course, one day I went away with a fellow business owner, Donna, and we wrote Ninja Couch Marketing, which was the first book that was written over a weekend, and we literally only spent 3 hours that weekend executing half of the book each, whereby a few months later, so we're kind of entering now into the 4th year, yeah, slightly, you know, the year three and a half. We actually, I sort of thought, you know, if Donna stands for working your PJs and she's this work from home queen, what the hell do I stand for? And I kind of started pondering in my head that if I wrote half a book in a weekend, maybe I could get others, reverse engineer this process I went for myself to get others to write a full book, and I would need to allocate X amount of hours and all that sort of stuff. So this is not about Ultimate 48 Author. This is really about the journey. Hey, Liz, nice to see you. And thanks, guys, for watching. By the way, if you have any comments, questions, go for it. So year 4 was about having the $1 million idea. The $1 million idea and, you know, developing the business to a 7-figure business, because all of a sudden I worked out if I could pull together something that would be end-to-end, something that would give people a start-to-finish product, then they, in a way, would be tricked into completing it, right? If you invest into everything, you know, from editing to, you know, to layout to printing, all the components of the publishing of a book, and then you also get mentored on how to pull it all together, market it, get taken away from distractions, all of this sort of stuff. And of course, I pulled together a table of deliverables after talking to different suppliers, and I go, look, I'll be taking a lot of responsibility to pull together all of this as one under one umbrella, because I'll have to manage all of the people. But you know, this could be a really satisfying way to make sure people complete it, so that when they complete it, I know for sure they will transform as individuals, because that's what it usually becomes about. And usually the people that we attract are first-time authors, and I always tell them, you know what, guys, you've entered this journey thinking it's about becoming an author, thinking it's about the book, right? And at the end, what I know you will know is that the transformation that occurred and the identity shift that you end up getting is, first of all, for yourself. So it's actually not about the book, it's about the person you become at the other end of it. And that's what I always say, because I know the shift that occurred in me when I received my first book in my hand. And it was me that changed first, not the content of the book that had stuff in it and all that sort of stuff. It was me that changed first before I would, you know, that increased in confidence, certainty, and started attracting people who said, I want to have what she's having. And so that was the whole idea behind putting Ultimate 48 Author out there. I'll go, okay, so if I include everything, there'll be absolutely no excuse for someone to want to flush that money down the toilet and give up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take them away. And after retreat 2 or 3, we included a secondary trick, which was to get them to start pre-selling their books on that retreat. So getting them to have a shopping cart, a PayPal button, whatever, which meant they're now committed to those people who've bought books as well. So I always say I have 2 tricks in tricking people into getting their books complete. And that is, 1, include everything start to finish. So there is significant skin in the game. You know, they're committed, they're having the full mentorship and that process through, they're learning a system. But at the end of the day, also they're finishing and they've committed not just to me, but for everyone that they've pre-sold their books on that Friday night of retreat. So year 4 was about arriving in that idea. Did I know this was going to be the $1 million idea? No, I didn't. Of course I didn't. I just tried something. And again, after trying many other things, I didn't talk about, during this live, I'm not going to talk about you know, all the different failures. So pretty much so if I can give you an idea, for everything that worked, 9 other things didn't work. Just if I can frame it that way for you guys, that would make it a ton easier. Okay, so I put it out there. I filled my first retreat, and that was filled by the people that I was already business consulting, coaching, people that I had networked with, that I had a relationship and rapport, because everyone else said, have you done this before? Right? And of course, I was the only success story or proof of having done half a book with someone else over a weekend. Once those people came out, the first lot of authors from retreat 1, now leading into retreat 21, of course, the floodgates open. And it was all well and good for the following 6 or 7 months, but now we enter year 5, and year 5 was very much about, hey, wow, you get to exhaust the warm network, which everyone who wanted to work with me, that I had relationship with, the relationships that I had networked with, all that sort of stuff, they, you know, wrote a book with me. So therefore, you know, they weren't going to write another one, because our system is designed to help first-time authors. And then they've got the structure in the system to go out and do as many books as they want. That's the beauty of it. It's replicable. And so I didn't know what to do. The retreat numbers reduced from 10. We had 2 10s and then 2 5s, 5 people per retreat. And I was thinking, well, my ideal vision was to have 10 in every retreat. And so I hired a mentor, another mentor. So again, you know, how do I solve this? How do I get around it? And this is where he strongly encouraged me to invest in Facebook ads. So only after 4.5 years did I tap into any paid advertising. Everything else up until the 4.5-year mark, where the business was being, you know, run, and all the clients were being found multiple 6 figures, at least 250,000 turnover, you know, the previous 2 years without any paid advertising. And so year 5, we had to take the leap and invest money when, you know, again, it wasn't the right time. We didn't have the money. You know, there was a lot of expenses all over the place, and we had just gone through a period of 6 weeks with no sales. So I was like petrified. That's it. Everything is imploding. You know, we're not going to have a business by the end of this year. I'm pregnant with baby number 3. And if I'm not out there selling, who the hell, like, you know, Stuart is not in that capacity, he's not the face of the business, what's going to happen? And that's when, of course, with Facebook ads, we started tapping to a cold audience, people who had never met me or seen me and don't know me from a bar of soap. And I continued going out there pregnant, all right through to the end, you know, executing the events all over Australia, and of course arriving at our 7-figure sales year for the first time. And that year, our goal was to obviously get a new house, to upsize, because baby number 3 was coming, and we did. We moved into this house where we're now, coming up to its 3-year anniversary, and that was one of the massive themes of that year. And also another thing that I decided to do when I moved into this house was to make exercise 4 times a week, regular routine, and to build a new neural pathway, whereas I used to be a person who would exercise for a few weeks, couple of months at the best, and do nothing for 6 or 7 months, and so on, and go on and off the wagon. So I decided to hire my PT, Andrea, who a lot of you know already, and she has been coming to this house. She was here this morning, even though I mucked up our days. I didn't realize, and I was standing there at my bedroom window, and there she's outside. I go, shit, get dressed, go and do it. So now I'm 2.5 years in without having failed to do 4 times of exercise a week. And why did I do that? Is because I started feeling very sluggish, because I was going to a lot of national travel all over Australia. Of course, I was pregnant at the time with Zara, but I was doing a lot of travel, and of course, exercise was one thing that I wanted to and bring into my life, not for weight loss, but to manage my energy levels and to be able to do more and feel good and, you know, get out there. So that was year 5. Facebook ads started in year 5. Year 6, I had a big theme. Theme of year 6 was to speak at 100 events. 100 events. And also secondary to that, I was wanting to get 100 authors into our program. I did achieve my Certified Speaking Professional accreditation in year 6, CSP for short. And what I learned in year 6 was the micro refinements I needed to do in my events and to continue mastering my model or my system that is Ultimate 48-Hour Author. Because what Ultimate 48-Hour Author was at Retreat 1 is completely different to what it is now going to be at Retreat 21 next week. So micro refinements, I realized, okay, so I've got a model, I've got an amazing offer, I am getting traction with Facebook ads and people are coming to my events, and now we can, you know, look at our numbers and know what we spend and what it costs us per person. I really started to get into the nitty-gritty detail of understanding that, you know, all of the conversions, the reality of them, the figures and the advertising spends and you know, travel costs and all that kind of stuff. And I really nutted out a couple of national tours, started to become better. But furthermore, I made micro adjustments and changes into how I delivered my half-day workshop and continued to refine, of course, the retreats, you know, in terms of how fast and how, you know, all the systems around that. And that was really about year 6. But yeah, my focus was to speak, and my theme was to speak at 100 events, and I did 101. It was crazy, but I absolutely would say yes to everything, go everywhere, be everywhere, which was, again, great experience, great theme to have, and something that people followed all of that year, something that was on social and I would report in. And then at the end of it, I did a massive video. If you want to Google it on YouTube, I think if you just do Natasa Dennman 100 events or something like that, you might see it come up, or you can look through my channel and you'll see that video of the crazy 100 events. Some were massive, some were small, but I did 100 times. So that was year 6, and we didn't get to the 100 authors, but every year since I started Ultimate 48-Hour Author, we have increased our author number intake every year. And this year, I'm aiming for the 100. You know, last year I think we ended up at 80. And you know, you just don't know what you don't know, and what amount of effort and the amount of rejection you've got to go through to get to certain numbers. But certainly that was the thing. Year 7, as we're getting close to 9:30 because I've got a phone call, the theme was to go international. USA was actually the theme because I had never traveled to US, not even as a tourist, and to go international. And little did I know, I didn't know this, but of course we put Dubai onto our plate later on in year 7. And the outcome of year 7 and doing all of that was to reach a point where I would be able to give my mum the opportunity to quit her job and to join the business. The learnings were many, and a few weeks ago from Orlando, I did a second US tour this year. I did a live about my learnings of going international. So if you look back, I think to the early April lives, or again on my YouTube channel, just Google my name and then put international or something, and you'll come up with them. With that live, I talked about for 40 minutes on what I had learned, but really a lot of lessons, logistics, planning, extra investments, learning about the export grant, you know, and we had the, you know, an auditor here to talk to us, and, you know, we're going through the final stages of getting that approved so we can cover some of our expenses. But really year 7 was about USA was the theme, mum quit her job, and yes, the international lessons were the major learnings from that year as Australia became a really nicely executed tours and regular influx of clients. We also had in year 7, of course, our biggest month ever, which was $550,000 month in August or September. It was one of those 2 months last year. So now, as we're living year 8, and of course coming to a close, of course, in year 8, Our theme for this year, our theme is, hey, Joanette, is 1,000 tickets. So what I mean, so you guys have seen me talk about the purple, the thermometer there, and that was to sell 1,000 tickets into our half-day events, which would convert into 100 authors, which is that massive goal that I've had for a few years now. And we're sitting at about 440, being the start of May. So we're nearly halfway there for the half of the year, but we are entering into a 2.5 month period, which is a quiet period for us. We're going to Thailand for a month. And what I've learned in the lessons from this last year is to declutter, declutter, and declutter, and keep really just focusing on my one thing. Because one thing I've been able to win back from, in terms of what's been happening over 8 years, as I've progressed, I've won back more time in my life for family, for travel, for lifestyle. And decluttering is this year's lessons. Don't have to do, I mean, I've tested so many things, and I've tested so many things the first 3.5 months of this year, because you guys know we have not been on planes at all. We haven't had a 2-week period off planes. Literally the last 10 days, we had 10 days off, but today we're on a plane to Sydney. So it's to declutter. Last year, I stopped doing my year-long mastermind program, which was run for 2 years at my home, which was fantastic. Those people are like family that came through that mastermind program, but I decided I would focus fully on my one thing, which is running my half-day workshop and then running my retreats. And sometimes I don't say yes to all speaking gigs that come my way, because I know it's not the best strategy, so I'm learning to only do what I know works. Of course, I will always be testing new ways. There's a couple of things Stuart and I want to test that we haven't done before in the next year. However, I'm stopping to do things that just make me busy for the sake of making me busy, or because I go somewhere and I get to speak and really it's not the best place that I should be speaking, or whatever it is. So decluttering is a big one. Next year, we are going to focus majorly on Australia. We're going to include a third tour. So most places will see us 3 times rather than 2 times, which means, but it's going to be a lot more streamlined and not as hectic on the planes and the travel. But of course, Stuart has joined me on the travel. This is the first year he's on the road with me, and it's a lot easier. Again, gives me back more time, having a second person that cares as much as I do about the business. And of course, mum is doing. So we've settled into the new structure of having mum with the kids and us on the road and being in and out. I mean, it was a crazy time to actually start this in the most intense period ever in business in terms of travel and doing workshops, but it's been we're at the other end of it, and we're now looking forward to 2 months of holidays. So that's that, guys. I thought I'd come along and just go and recap these 8 years, because it wasn't all wins and amazing celebrations. There's been way more lows than there has been highs, but you take the highs and you let them carry you through as long as you possibly can, and continue working on the mindset and staying focused. So if we rewinded back to year 1, which was my biggest lessons were mindset and focus, that's actually the theme and the lessons that I continue refining every single year, because again, this year I needed to declutter. What does that mean? I needed to continue being focused on the one thing that I know I can do the best and than anyone in the world, and that's that. So if you did listen and stick out for most of this, or you've come in, or then you're going to listen later, whatever it is, I'd love to learn what was the one thing that I said, or maybe like an overall summary comment about what you think it was valuable for you and your business. As I say, I never talk about myself because it's just for the sake of coming on here and talking about it. It's actually nice for me to reflect and learn, look at my lessons, look at my themes, look at the massive goals, and kind of go, you know, it's been a wonderful journey, and I will continue to embrace and walk that path. So have an amazing week. I'm going to get on a call. Christiane, who joined the call live, she's going to be calling me any second, and then I'm going to be prepping one of my New Zealand authors, my first New Zealand author, Nats, and then, of course, getting ready to head out to the airport. So have an amazing Monday, everybody, and smash it out. I'll see you back here next Monday.